Hi everyone, welcome to my classroom. Today we're going to be talking about pronunciation. More specifically, we're going to be talking about ways that you can use your whole body to improve your pronunciation. So if you're interested, let's get started. Initially, the idea was to record a simple podcast episode about ways to make pronunciation more visible. In other words, ways that you could use everyday objects to help you see the different sounds and intonation patterns. That's very helpful for some people who sometimes have a hard time just listening to what people say. But as I prepared for this episode, I realized that pronunciation involves much more than seeing and listening. Many people just focus on listen and repeat, listen and repeat. So they listen to an audio file and then they repeat what they hear. And then whenever we say, oh no, you have to see it as well, it's already pretty good, right? Oh yeah, pronunciation is not just about listening, but it's about seeing as well. But then I realized, no, it's not just about seeing. It's about your whole body. It's something that's physical. I know that. I always talk about that in my classes. If you're my student, you know that. We love doing pronunciation workouts and stuff like that. But I think what I was missing was the fact that your whole body is involved when it comes to speaking, when it comes to making sounds. So this is what we're going to talk about today. By the way, if you don't listen to my podcast, it's called My Classroom. Right now, I only have it on Spotify. I want to expand it to other platforms, but baby steps. I just had a baby. Talking about babies, well, that was 10 months ago. It feels like I just had a baby. That's why I have a bassinet in here, but the baby's not here. Anyways, so I have this podcast that I started just because it's a little bit easier for me now that I'm a mom, and I can't always be on camera. So yeah, I have this podcast. Go check it out for more topics related to learning English. Yeah, it's a pretty good one. So what do I mean when I say that pronunciation involves the whole body? The whole body. Look at my expression. When I slow down, like whole body, my body did the same thing. And now I look surprised. Actually, this camera makes my eyes look so much bigger. But yeah, rising. Yeah. My eyebrows are rising as well. You see, it's all connected. If you're listening to this episode, I know you won't be able to see it, but you can just have a mental picture maybe. But as I'm talking here, my hands are moving, my body's moving, my head is moving. You see, almost feels like I'm dancing. That's also part of my personality. But you can see that pronunciation involves your whole body. Of course, my goal here is not to change your personality or who you are. But sometimes our problem is not just that I can't pronounce sounds or I can't speak. Sometimes we're very scared to move our bodies as we learn how to pronounce things. We forget that pronunciation is not just about the mouth. It's about your whole body. It's about the muscles here in your neck and how you breathe. I mean, think about when you're running. Anything we do involves rhythm, right? Talking, running, cooking, you're stirring the pot, you see? There is rhythm to everything, and then you're breathing. So it's the same thing with pronunciation. So for example, when some students are learning to pronounce the TH unvoiced sound, thank you. So sometimes when they're reading, they're just reading a text and they're like, thank you. I can't pronounce it. Thank you. You see? But imagine that you are actually thanking a person for something they did, and then you smile at them and you say, thanks. It makes it much easier. You're smiling. And as you smile, you see, your tongue is right here in between your teeth. Thanks. Thanks a lot. You see? Thanks. I'm reading this role play Oh, thank you very much. Thank you very much. Thank you. I'm not opening my mouth. Oh, thanks. Thanks a lot. Thanks a lot. You're smiling. It makes it much easier. So you're connecting here. What's actually happening? Like you are feeling thankful for something, and then you are also opening your mouth, adjusting your posture. Oh, thank you. Thank you. Thank you. You see, you're leaning forward. Yeah, it's all connected. So there is a scholar that I really admire. She wrote this wonderful article on pronunciation embodiment. I'm going to link the article in the description because I know a lot of teachers follow me. So it's a pretty good one. And there's a quote that I'm going to read this. It's a little bit academic, but I'm going to try to translate that to my students out there. Basically, Chan, I think you pronounce her name Chan, hopefully. A view of pronunciation as consisting simply of the sounds of a language from one person's mouth to another person's ears. So like, I pronounce something and then you listen to it and you produce it. That's usually what we think about when we think of pronunciation. Somebody says something, you listen to it, you produce it. But if you only think about this, listening and repeating, that's very limited, right? So this kind of view ignores the importance of I can't pronounce this word now. Okay, back to the quote here. So a view of pronunciation as consisting simply of the sounds of a language from one person's mouth to another person's ears ignores the importance of motility. Motility, that means the ability to move. So it ignores movement. Yeah, as I'm talking to you guys now, I am using gestures. My facial expression changes depending on what I say. My body is moving too, you see? So this kind of view, listen and repeat, just that, ignores the importance of movement. The movement of each part of the body that influences speech, as well as the use of the body as a choreographic, so choreographic as in, dancing and moving. So the body as a choreographic element in instruction. This means that everything's connected, It's almost like a dance. As you speak, my hands are moving now. I'm doing some different things all at the same time. So we have this harmony between our body. That sounds so hippie, and I kind of look hippie today with these earrings. That was not my goal. But basically what I'm saying is we forget that pronunciation involves your whole body. It involves, moving your hands. Yeah, moving your hands too. Not just focusing on the mouth. We forget that. Learning a language is not just learning how to produce sounds or learning new words or memorizing things in our heads. It's about becoming a different version of yourself. I'm not saying you become a different person, but you add one more identity to yourself. You become somebody else because you're just learning so much more. Did that make sense? So now that we've clarified why pronunciation involves the whole body, it's important to remember that because it involves the whole body, we need to focus on making things automatic. What do I mean by that? Imagine just always thinking about your whole body as you're talking to a person and being aware of everything. Okay, now I'm moving my jaw this way and I'm doing this thing to my, in my mouth, and it's overwhelming, right? So the goal of practicing and using these everyday objects is to help you repeat and repeat, and that repetition will lead to automatization. So things will become automatic. You're going to go on autopilot. So for example, imagine you're learning how to drive. I don't know, you're learning a new skill. At first, you're like trying to pay attention to all these different things. Oh, the brake and the gas pedal, and then people walking. You're doing multiple things at the same time, but eventually it becomes easier and you don't have to think so much. So The same thing goes for pronunciation practice. All these different objects and activities are to help you eventually become comfortable to the point where you don't even think so much about it. So I'll give you an example. When I started learning regular verbs in English, regular verbs in the past, I was overwhelmed by all the different rules. But I learned, this is how I learned it. Instead of learning, okay, if the verb ends in CH or SH, instead of memorizing the letters, I learned the sounds. If it ends in on like an unvoiced sound, ask, no vibration, it sounds like a T at the end. Asked, asked. Wash, sh, no vibration, washed. So at first, whenever I was talking to people, I remember being aware of that and trying to remember those things. Of course, I wasn't talking to them in like wash, sh, washed. But eventually, it became so much easier. And now, I don't even have to think about it. Seriously. And that's how I learned it. All right, let's start with our bodies, okay? The first thing we're going to do, breathe. Yeah, just breathe. I'm serious. Relax your mouth. It makes things much harder when your mouth is not relaxed. So when you breathe deeply, that helps you relax. So for example, I have a hard time pronouncing the word generosity because usually my mouth is tense and I want to say the G sound in a like with a very strong articulation, like j, 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 j. Generosity, generosity. Your generosity, your generosity, generosity. Relaxed. So breathe. That's the first thing. If you can't pronounce a word well, a word well, the first thing, breathe, relax, and let's go to the second thing. Number 2, stretch your tongue. Yeah. This looks weird, but yeah, help your tongue relax as well. Stretch it. Remember, your body is so used to making the sounds of your native language. So if you're an adult learner, I don't know, suppose you're 30 years old. For the last 30 years, you've been pronouncing these same sounds. Although when you were a baby, research suggests that babies produce sounds from all different languages, and then they start filtering those sounds and only using the sounds of their native language. But for the past 29 years, I don't know, you've been producing these same sounds. Your body is so used to making these same sounds. So you gotta help your tongue stretch. Remember, you're about to make sounds you never thought were even possible. So stretch your tongue. Okay, that's number 2. Number 3, pay attention to your posture. Yeah. You're learning a new word and you're like this, slouching, and you have your hand right here. You know, some students, sometimes I'm like, you're covering your mouth. I can't see you. So, yeah, I don't know, a very difficult word. My students always ask me to help them with entrepreneur, right? Entrepreneur. Posture, entrepreneur. Yeah, pay attention to your posture, okay? All right, so since I talked about posture, let's use a mirror right now. Oh, that looks cool. What? So look at yourself in the mirror like this. Are you relaxed? How are you producing the different sounds? Suppose I want to talk about something really exciting. Do I look excited when I talk about it? Am I smiling? Or you don't have to smile all the time. I know we all have different personalities, but you see, if you're talking about something exciting and you're like this and whatever, it's not going to look exciting, you know. You might convey the wrong message because, again, communication is much more than words. You know, actions speak louder than words, right? So how you act really impacts the message. So posture, look at your lips, your jaw, your eyes, your hands. Yeah, look at yourself in the mirror. Number 5, use your hands. If you have problems with word stress, develop, okay? Pedagogy, not pedagogy, pedagogy. You see, so all of these different words that are tricky, when it comes to the stress, so clapping can really help. You can also use your fingers. So if you're practicing the dark L, so that L that you can't really see very much, it's really hard for some Portuguese speakers, for example. Oh, it's not example, although I think people understand if you say it that way, but example, oh. So using your finger, oh, I'm pulling, oh, pull, pull your tongue. Example, people, oh, people. Example, people. I even pull my head backwards, you see? People. So, again, it's all connected. Number 6, fight. Yeah, fight. Like, you're mad already. You can't pronounce that word. Use that to your own advantage. Like, advantage. Again, I'm focusing here on sentence, on word, not sentence, word stress. So, advantage, develop. I punch every time I say the stress word. Or you can also stand up. Advantage. That one, actually, you get the best of both worlds, because you're like working out and practicing your pronunciation, like, stand and sit down, stand and sit down. Pretty good. I like that one. Maybe I'm gonna try that one now. All right, let's focus on objects now. I already mentioned this guy here, mirror. So you can use a rubber band or a hair elastic. I'm using this as like a hair band, hair elastic, for word stress. I'm using the same example because this is a word my students always struggle with. Develop. You can also use this for intonation, rising intonation, or here, falling intonation, rising, or for short or long vowels like seat, sit, seat, sit, seat. You see, I stretch more. Seat, sit. It simulates what's happening right here in my lips. A little piece of paper. So for example, paper, p. There's an extra puff of air. P. Can you see? It's moving. P. Paper. P. All right, when it comes to visualizing pronunciation, so you can also use capital letters. For example, here we have, seriously, this is like green, but you can see it. Capital. You see, the stress syllable is capitalized. Capital. Sometimes people use dots as well, like a bigger dot here, and then here, and here. I think it's very helpful to learn how to divide syllables in English. I'm not going to get into this in this video because it's a little bit complicated, but I can definitely record a video about that in the future. So you see, you can use that, or you can use this as well, like stairs. Sometimes these are helpful for primary and secondary stress, because some words have that, primary and secondary stress, like communicative. It's like communicative. Goes up and down and then a little bit up again, but there's always a primary stress. Communicative, okay? Yeah, you can do that too. A lot of people love the International Phonetic Alphabet. I love it too. I understand that for some people it might be a little bit hard. For some learners, especially, that like their alphabetic system or their writing system is different from English. It can be hard. It almost feels like you're learning a new writing system for some students, but I feel like for the most part it's helpful for advanced learners. this is in my experience. I used to think it was good for everyone, but now that I'm teaching some groups of people that are not even literate in their first language, sometimes it's hard. Like, you know, they don't even know how to read in their native language, and then you're like teaching them how to write in English. On top of that, you're teaching them how to read the International Phonetic Alphabet. So it could be a little bit complicated for those students, but it's very helpful if you learn those symbols. So for example, the schwa, which is a very relaxed vowel, not stressed. It never occurs in stressed syllables, never, because it's very relaxed. This is the symbol. So every time you see this, you know that you're not going to stress that syllable. You're always going to relax yourself, relax your mouth. Like when you say bacon, not bacon, or, you know, bacon, bacon, schwa. I almost forgot one thing as I was editing the video. And I'm not going to get very deep into this, but we often forget that pronunciation is not just about sound, one specific sound, but we link sounds together when we're speaking. So something that's very helpful as well is to write down what you're trying to say. So for example, what you are trying to say. Please forgive my green marker. What you are trying to say. What you're trying to say. So you listen to what people are saying and you try to like manipulate this, like what you. Sometimes we just stop the T. What you're here. I'm using a contraction, right? What you're trying to say. I'm going to link the sounds together here. Trying to. No. What you're trying to say. You see, you can do that as well. Linking sounds is so important. Connected speech is really, really important. Hopefully I can talk more about that in the future too. Don't forget to tell me in the comments which activity was your favorite. Punching, like fighting, or the rubber band, or using the mirror, breathing. Do you have a favorite one? The piece of paper. Let me know in the comments, and I'll see you next time. Bye. Thanks for watching.